if you didn't notice. Hey, I am so humbled to be here and honored to be in front of y'all. And I'm going to start off a little differently. It's going to be different. I know, different. Change sometimes. Thank you very much. I need something to put my water on because I'm sorry, I'm fighting some crud in me, so you may get that a few times. I'm sorry. But I want to start off a little different today. Because that song has been playing over me for weeks now, for some reason. And I now know why. Because this is the moment, right? But here's what I want you to do. And this is going to be a little different for y'all. I want you guys to all close your eyes. And I really want you to close your eyes. And I really want these words to sing over you. I want you to feel what the reckless love of God, what kicking down walls, what climbing up mountains, what that really means. Because this song, this bridge in this song, it basically is saying God is going to do anything he has to do to get to you. And I want this to be sung over you. I want your heart to feel what his love for you feels like. Because I'm telling you, this is just a piece of who God is. So if you could just close your eyes and hear as these words are sung over you.
The sunshine won't light up, mountain won't climb up, coming after me. The soul won't kick down, lie won't tear down, coming after me. The sunshine won't light up, mountain won't climb up, coming after me. There's no
Lord, thank you for today, and thank you for giving everything for us. And continue to recklessly go after us with such energy and excitement that we just can't help but follow who you are in our lives. Lord, be in this place. Heavenly Spirit, pour down on this place as we just join together today to worship you. God, we love you. Thanks for loving us. It's in your name we pray. So those of you that don't know, my name is Dustin Ichida, and I am the youth pastor for First Youth here. And I am so excited to be here. As I was planning for today, as I was getting ready to preach this sermon, I couldn't think, how do I start this message? For the last 2 weeks, we've started this series. We've been working on this series called The Creed. And in the first week, we talked about, what do I believe? And how important is what I believe in how I live my life? And in week 2, we talked about the creation. And y'all remember how John's like a science teacher. Like, I didn't know he knew that much science. But like, he was, like, I'm Asian. I should know science better than that. But I'm lucky I knew what a decimal point. Like, I think he said decimal point. And I'm not sure, but I think I know what a decimal point is. But he talked a lot about science and what creation is. And that was cool, right? And then it comes to my message, and I have to talk about God the Father. And I'm like, oh, dang, can I talk about Jesus? Because God the Father's tough. God the Father's tough for me. But then I thought to myself, oh, but wait a minute. I have this man right here. If you guys could bring that up. This is Grant Ichida. He's 82 years old. He's a son of 2 Salvation Army brigadier generals. So he was brought up with the word. But he was a little boy in Manzanar, California, in internment camp. And for those of you that don't know, an internment camp was where the Japanese Americans were placed during World War II after Pearl Harbor had happened. Now, if he followed the world, Grant Ichida could have easily been really bitter. He could have easily been super angry at everything in this world. His parents everything had been taken away from them. They've been thrown behind barbed wire and armed men. But he didn't. Do you want to know who Grant Ichida was? Grant Ichida was a dad that never missed any football game I've ever played. Grant Ichida was a dad that never missed a swim meet, never missed a band concert. He never missed a first date. He was my father. You know, and this picture just summed up exactly who he is, right? That's my son Gavin there, and that's my dad helping him tie a tie. That's father, right? And some of you are sitting there right now going, you know what? I have a similar story to that. I remember my dad helping me tie a tie. I remember my dad being at every single football game. I love those memories. But there are some of you that might be sitting here today that have a completely different story than I had. And some of you might be sitting there going, dude, I don't even know who my dad was. My dad wasn't there. He didn't go to a game. He never knew what dates I was on. And those two stories, as different as they are, they point us to one thing, though. And that is God is our Father. And this world is going to tell us that that's not true. But I'm here to tell you, God is our Father. And no matter what different story that we have, no matter what our lives or what has happened to get us to this point today, the only truth that matters is that God is your Father. We are sons and daughters of the risen Christ. We are sons and daughters of the Creator of the universe. The God that hung the stars in the sky and made every muscle and bone and blood vessel in your body work. That is our Father, our Heavenly Father. And there are a couple of points that I wanted to make sure that you guys understood. And number one is that God, He is the Father of all our blessings. I mean, we can go back to the very earliest of days, and we can look at what He did for Abraham and understand what a blessing He has been in our lives. Remember, He made Abraham the father of all nations. What a blessing. How about Saul? What a blessing Saul was given, wasn't it? He went from living this life of killing Christians to spreading the word of God beyond all places. That can only come from one Father, right? Let me tell you a little personal story about a young Japanese-American guy named Dustin who was following in a very similar path of destruction, but had a very similar Damascus Road conversion and transformation. Jesus blinded me and turned me going from one way to another. And that's only for one reason. Because God is the Father of all blessings. And if I didn't believe in the Father and believe in His blessings, then I'm not sure I'd be standing here today, giving the Word of God in front of an amazing church. I am the real life Saul. Those of you that want to know the story, let's have lunch. I'll buy you lunch because I love sharing it. Because this life right here was on the road to nothing. Anybody in here ever been on that road before? I don't want to be on that road anymore. And God the Father of blessings has said, you don't have to be on that road anymore. Because guess what? God is also the Father of deliverance. He has delivered us from the enemy. You know, the crazy thing is this world has always talked about how we are a broken people. Have we all heard that before? Well, we're broken. Of course we're going to sin. Of course we're going to do bad things. We're broken. Oh, but wait. Oh, but wait. How we've so quickly forgotten who Jesus Christ is. Because if I'm not mistaken, and it might be a different Bible that somebody else reads, but there was a victory. I'm pretty sure that Jesus won. And I'm pretty sure when that happened, He said, it is finished. Am I right? So when He said, it is finished, that doesn't mean that I have to live in sin and be broken anymore. It means I get to live in victory. Because God is the Father of deliverance. He delivers us from that stuff to something better. Who in here has ever missed God's best? Anybody? Am I the only? But who's ever seen God's best again? Hey, we missed God's best, but God's got another best. Because He delivers us from that to this, to God's best. In Psalm 68:5, He's the father to the fatherless, defender of widows. This is God whose dwelling is holy. He delivers us from fatherless and from widows. He delivers us from our pain. Guys, we can go through our days every day, and we can look in the past. And here's the crazy thing. When I met with the staff parish here, and one of the staff, or maybe it was even a board member, one of them said something that will really change the trajectory of my life forever. And I thank him for this. But he said, you know what? I've never heard. So I said something negative about myself that had happened in my past. And he said to me, he goes, I've never heard those words spoken about you here. So why are those truths in your life anymore? That might have been what somebody else said, but we don't believe that about you. Because God is the Father of deliverance. He moves us from this junk that we live in to this place of, I just want to be here for you. I just want to love other people. Man, that's a deliverance that I want to be a part of that. That's transformation, people. And if we aren't living transformed lives, then what kind of lives are we living? Because the only thing that shows us that we trust and believe in God the Father is that we live transformed lives and live differently. Am I right? Being delivered from junk is true freedom. You know, there's that song, Break Every Chain, right? We've all heard, well, most of us have heard it. Let God break the chains that we live in. Because God, He's our Father who doesn't want us to be binded in stuff that we shouldn't be binded to. If I'm going to be binded to anything, I'm going to be binded to Him. Not to what this world tells me to be binded to. And here's the most important thing. God is the Father of love. He's the Father of love. He's the Father of forgiveness. He's the Father of grace and patience. You know, since we've been little kids, we can remember us talking about God, He loves us. Jesus loves us. God's our best friend. Jesus is our best friend. But does it ever really stick? When is it in our lives that actually sticks? God is love. He's the Father of love. And I want to give you a couple of examples of that. In Luke 15, you guys know this. Some of you may know the story of the prodigal son. And we talk about the prodigal son a lot, but sometimes we forget to talk about the father in the prodigal son. So he returned home to his father, and while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. Those of you that know the story know it well, that the prodigal son had taken his inheritance from his father before his father had even passed away. He had gone off and he had plundered it and spent it and was in famine and didn't know what to do. What do? You go home. You go home to Dad. And he went home to Dad thinking, oh, I can be a part of his slaves and I can help in the fields. Is that father? No. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. I don't know about you, but that's the God, that's the Father that I want to go back to. Move on in the story. We must celebrate with a feast, for this son of mine is dead and has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he is found. Anybody in here ever been lost? Those of us that have been lost, those of us that have been in places that we don't care to talk about at our parties and in the churches and all that, how glad are we that we were found? How glad are we that we had a Father that loved us enough to say, I don't care what wall is in front of us, I don't care what mountain is in front of me, I will find you. Because that's God the Father. God the Father said, I don't care how far I have to go. I don't care how long it takes. I will find you. Amen. Because I'm telling you what, if he didn't find me, I don't know who would have. me show you another one. Matthew 18:12. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them wanders away, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others on the hills and go out to search for the one that is lost? Anybody in here ever been lost? Anybody in here ever been found? I've been found because I have a Father that loves the living daylights out of me. I was found because God doesn't care about this world. He cares about me. But we've got one more. And this is the big one. For this is how God loved the world. He gave his one and only Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish, but have eternal life. God sent his Son into the world not to judge the world, but to save the world through him. God is the Father of sacrifice. He sacrificed everything he had for you, and for you, and for you, and for you, and for you guys, and for all of you. He sacrificed. And so when I go back and I think about how am I going to open this sermon about God the Father, and I thought about my own father, I realized the sacrifice that he made in his life to get me to where I am today. You know, my dad's the guy that wears the really, and I'm sorry if anybody's wearing them, but the kind of cheesy old guy, you know, kind of like New Balance type shoes. You know, the ones that usually were like $30. You know, on sale. I'm sorry. I'm kind of a shoe nerd. So, but he sacrificed. I know that's a small sacrifice, but he sacrificed because he knew his kids wanted something different. And that's just a cool thing to know that your dad just sacrifices. But how does that pale in comparison to the sacrifice that God made, your Father in heaven made, for you to be who you are today? Can you just imagine what it would be like today if God had not sacrificed his one and only Son for us? What this world would be like. I mean, it's pretty dark now. But we have Jesus. Because our Father of love, our Father of grace, our Father of forgiveness, is the Father of sacrifice. And here's the thing. Bob Goff said it in the book Love Does. Love is never stationary. And we now have an opportunity to live our lives differently. We get to be different. And that's the most difficult part about this Christian life, isn't it? Is that now we have to be different. And let me tell you a little story. And my daughter probably is going to be like, oh, he's going to say this story again. But I'm using it because it's good. We have to live differently because we have a Father who loves us. So back when I was in high school, I was an above average football player. I was a middle linebacker. Good. I made a lot of. I was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty good. So we're in a football game, and one of the linemen, big dude, he's like, I'm just going to cheap shot him every time I block him because it's the only way I'm going to be able to stop him. So what he would do is he'd rabbit punch me right in the sternum. And every time he did it, I'm like, so he did it about 4 times, and finally, I'm like, it started to hurt. I'm like, dude, punch me again. So he did it again, and I finally said to him, I go, you punch me in the sternum one more time, I'm going to rip your face mask off your helmet. And maybe some other things. I wasn't really following Jesus that well, so I got to be honest, it probably wasn't the best. So, go back to the huddle, a couple of plays later, same lineman comes up, gives me a little shot right to the sternum again, and I just rip his helmet, throw it off the field, flag thrown, you're out of the game. And I'm like, You know, I do the walk of shame off the field. And who's waiting for me on the sideline, do you think? Grant Ichida. And I'm like, I'm gonna get lit up. It's gonna be bad. And that's all I care about. I'm like, I could care less what happened on the field. I'm like, please, he's cheap shot me. So I get off the field. I'm thinking, here we go, preparing myself for the big yell. And what does my dad say to me? But he says, I don't really care what you do to your name, but all you've done is you've embarrassed your grandfather, you've embarrassed his father, and you've embarrassed me. All you've done is you've taken the Ichida name and you've made it an embarrassment today. That's all you've done. I would have much rather been yelled at. I'd have much rather been screamed at that day. But it taught me a lesson. That name on my jersey was Ichida. And that meant a lot. And that meant everything. And here's the thing. Our name on the back of our jersey is God the Father. And when we walk out of those doors, we have to be different. Because that's the name that we represent. His is the name that we represent. So when we don't live a different life, when we don't live transformed, all we're doing is saying God is not really God. So when we live our lives doing whatever it is that we do sometimes, we're just saying that name doesn't matter. And I'll never forget that story about my dad. He could have yelled at me, could have screamed at me, could have made me just feel terrible. Instead, he said, you know what? There's something bigger than you, son. There's something bigger than you, son. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, there's something bigger than us. Because God's love is never stationary. It is constantly moving in our lives. Because God is the Father of love. And I'm going to finish off right here. And I heard this I'm stealing this from another pastor, but I wanted you to hear it because I think it's just solid. There is nothing that you have to do. There's nothing that you have to prove anymore to anybody to get God's love. We live in this world of performance-based everything, don't we? God's not looking for performance. Because we serve a God that's a relational God, a relational Father. I want everyone to hear these words. God loves you. Your Father loves you. because he made you. God, the Father, loves you because he died for you. And that matters. So again, when we walk out those doors, do we live a transformed life, or do we live like whatever is said in these walls is all that matters, and once we walk out of there, it doesn't matter anymore? And please don't feel guilt if you've walked out of these doors and forgotten everything that you've ever heard in here, because I've been there. But that's what living a transformed life means. Love is never stationary. Lord, thanks for today, and thanks for just time that we could stop and worship you. Worship you as the Father. Worship you as the Father of love. Worship you as a Father of sacrifice. God, we just ask that as we walk out those doors today, that we live a transformed life. Because we know how much you love us. God, we are crazy in love with you. And we want to make sure that people know that. God, thanks for loving us. We love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen. I think we are going to have Patty come on up, and then we are going to talk through the communion. I'm sorry.